Morning, David.
More or less. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty bright this morning. What about yourself?
I'm just not keeping up with your color scheme. I'm feeling rather dull compared to your bright, lively colors this week. What's going on?
That's all right. David, remember Friday, Hawaiian shirts.
Right. Got it. Yeah, right. This weekend is Father's Day, and we're working up to that a little bit because Friday we're going to talk about your father and how to honor your father, whether he triggers you or not. That's sort of the idea. So today we're talking about a topic that I think is really critical. It's one of the more important insights I had years ago because, I was a major spine surgeon, fearless, did not know what anxiety was. And I went from honestly being fearless to anxiety reactions in one day. And then for 15 years, I could not stop the process. Turns out anxiety is just this explosion of neurochemicals. That's it. It's very objective. I personalized it. And I wrote a website post called Anxiety, Your Bodyguard or Prison Guard. And what I've realized, we've talked about this multiple times, is that this thing we call anxiety is just an activated nervous system. It's this massive survival response that, of course, encompasses your whole body, but it's a gift. So it's how we evolved and it's how we survive. But when we get our identity wrapped up in this encompassing feeling, then we're in trouble. Because if you think about your life in general, what limits us is our anxieties, but it's not who we are. It's what we have, but it's not who we are. So the first step in dealing with an activated nervous system is realize it's just which word I want to use less. We're just trying to depersonalize this whole process. Let's not take it personally because you're surviving. It's just
Impersonalize it. How about that?
What's that?
To impersonalize, to not take it.
Yeah, it's just a reaction. So how we get our identity repped into the survival reaction is a bit of a problem. So the first step in dealing, or what I talk about developing a working relationship with anxiety, is separating your identity from it. And so it's what you have, but it's not who you are.
Yeah, I think it's you've said several important things there. And when we call it anxiety or fear of pain or life or pressures, things, bills, whatever it is, when life shows up, including our physical pain, it is so human, and it's an evolutionary process, as just you were saying earlier. It shows up not to punish us, it shows up to protect us. It's in service of survival. However, as humans, we tend to personalize it because, like, why is this happening to me? Why am I having a panic attack? Why do I have this bill? Why is my pain not getting better? The why basically gets us spinning and personalize it. We make it more about us than the nervous system. And I think what you're trying to share, David, to the audience is, listen, when the stuff happens and you react to it, when it shows up there, it is human for us to kind of personalize it and saying is we almost overly identify with it. We identify with it, and it's like we were playing with Play-Doh. We had a blue color and a black color Play-Doh, and if the black is the fear and the blue is you, and what happens is this is when we start to kind of over-identify, it becomes one. The colors become blended, and what you're telling us is this is that when that happens, we tend to become our fear, we become our pain, we over-identify. And you said to impersonalize or to depersonalize it, basically saying as, well, let's get some skills here. Let's pause, step back and go, this is sort of a sensory input that's happening. It's a survival mode. And that's a very difficult thing. I've been training patients, David, both of us have, to be able to not sort of react, but respond during difficult moments. And that training is a cue of safety. When we react real intensely and keep reacting intensely to the difficult moment, we train a nervous system, our brain and body, that we're not safe. But when we feel what we need to feel and go like, crap, this is happening, and learn some skills to downregulate the nervous system, we start to send cues of safety.
Well, let's talk about this one word called shame, which is a big word in the psychological world. So you have this amoral survival reaction that's just deadly. It just wants to destroy everything around it for you to survive. It's all about you. So it does feel shameful. And you're not going to solve that feeling, but it's not who you are. You're a different person. So again, unless you separate this reaction from your identity, you're always going to feel shame. And you can work on shame the rest of your life. It's still going to feel uncomfortable when you have this anxiety reaction, which, by the way, you have every minute of your life. It's how we stay
Yeah.
alive,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I love what you just said there. And David, one of the things I teach my residents and my patients is this, is if you take shame and sliced it and opened it up, you being a surgeon, if we both took a peek into it, of course, you do the operation. And when you take a look into it, I'm just a little voice on your shoulder, David. So
All right.
just roll with me, David. Roll with me.
All right. I'm rolling with it.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
never
And
thought
when you,
about shame and spine surgery, but let's go with it.
there's no room for it in spine surgery. I know that.
Right.
So when you open up shame and you dissect it and you take a look at it, there are two ingredients in it: anger at oneself and disgust with oneself.
Right.
And so when we tend to get over-identified with a feeling and we do not have skills to separate or diffuse, what happens is we become it. And that's what you're basically preaching this morning, is be aware of when we overly identify. It is normal to react. And then if we can actually, research shows, David, I'm sure you know this, it takes about 90 seconds. If we can ride the bull, if we can ride a difficult thought, a difficult emotion and physical sensation for just 90 seconds and not overly react to it and have skills to diffuse, whether it's with our breath, expressive writing, gentle movement, or just kind of getting away from everything. If you can ride it for 90 seconds, you will sort of deregulate, downregulate your nervous system.
And we're going to talk about this more later when we talk about neuroplasticity, but remember, this is a programming issue. We become geniuses at surviving because we live longer and longer. Yeah. As you get older, it gets stronger, not weaker.
Right.
So you want to become a genius at enjoying your life, but that's a different conversation, different skill. So Les, you had a sort of a surgeon-like intervention you discussed before we started that I thought was interesting. And I'm going to try this with a little trepidation, but would you mind sharing that intervention with us this morning?
Sure, absolutely. One of the trainings, David and I were talking offline before we got on Facebook here, is that one of the things I do for training for myself and my patients is, if you just try this at home, if you get a chance, put your hands in ice cold water, like get some ice, put your hands in a bowl of cold water and watch the first two responses. The first thing is you want to pull it out, or it's at some point you want to pull it out. That's the first thing, is you have this reflex. The second thing is pay attention, listen carefully. You will hear complaints like, doggone it, it's freaking cold. Now it has to be super cold. And when you put it in there, that's the training. One, pay attention, be aware of your reaction. Number two, listen to what you're getting kind of caught up in, the complaints. The training here is desensitization. As you just drop into your breath and become fully aware and bring in mental qualities of curiosity, like, wow, this completely is making my hands numb, and just for a few seconds, and then drop into your breath and then say sensory input over and over again. So one more time, when you put your hands in the ice, the first reaction, pay attention. You want to, it's human to pull out. The second thing is you will hear gentle complaints in your head. The training is put your hands in there, become aware of where you feel the numbness, awareness. Two, what I want you to do is drop into your breath, really slow the breathing down. And then the third thing is to label it sensory input, sensory input, sensory input with your breath. And that is a good training. So when you feel something intense, you can use the same thing, awareness, dropping into your breath, and just simply saying sensory input. It sounds kind of weird, but give it a try.
But again, what Les and I are trying to do, and for me personally, you're just trying to really just depersonalize this whole survival sensation. It's just a sensation. Really, even from a logical standpoint, it has nothing to do with who you are. It's always going to feel bad. It's always going to feel shameful. It's always going to feel uncomfortable. And so I think that's a very interesting physical way. Remember, physical pain and mental pain go to the same part of the brain. Yep. They get the same reaction. And it's not like mind over matter, but the idea of curiosity. And say those three things again, Les, really quickly, just for a final.
Just awareness.
Okay.
Breath.
Okay.
And labeling and the labeling is say sensory input. Your words your language can create suffering or healing. Use a neutral word, sensory input, or just simply say sensory. It's because the information is being sent up to the brain. It's a sensation, it's a sensory. That's what it is.
We'll also talk about another concept later about walking into your pain. And there's
Yeah.
also ways of doing this, but you can be, if you're, the fear of the pain actually fires up your immune system and you feel the pain more. So
Yep.
the fear of the fear of the pain is actually a huge issue. Anyway, we could go on for a while on that. So Les, I'm going to try this today. I'll check back in with you tomorrow, let you know how this went.
I should record you and have Babs
If
record you.
if you hear some sort of curse words floating across the universe, you'll know why that's happening.
Yeah, we're all about love, David.
Well,
Love yourself.
Okay, you got it. All right, so a couple things. This is dynamic healing moments. And again, dynamic healing acknowledges the interaction between you as a person and your circumstances, creating symptoms. And so you have to address the whole thing in order to heal. So we are starting a movement called dynamic healing. We're excited about it. This is what this is about, is the dynamic aspect of life in general. And you can find me at thedocjourney.com. And Dr. Arya, where can we find you?
You can find me at remedypain.co.
And after I put my hands in ice water, I will definitely find you. This is going to be good. All right. See you.
Take care. Have a great morning, everyone.